Okay, so from now onwards we are going to talk about animation portion, and animation portion is related to this timeline and some keyframes over here. So let's talk about the timeline first. So this is our timeline over here. Now this is from 0 to 90 frames like this, and if you go to the settings over here, and if you see the frame rate over here is 30, which means 30 frames, which means from here to here this portion is 1 second. So if we calculate that 30, 60 and 90, so basically this entire portion is 3 second long. And if you want to increase the duration, all you need to do simply, right now it's 90, you can type 180 over here, and then you can increase the duration of this like that. So now this 90 means 3 seconds, and plus this 90, which means 180, which is equal to 3 seconds. So if we add both, which means it is 6 second long. Okay, so this is about the timeline. And now let's check out this options when we are going to create the actual keyframes. So why keyframes are needed over here? Because if you want to do create some animation from here to here, so basically you need to create some changes in position. So that's where our keyframe thing comes in. Now suppose I have selected this one, and now I want to animate this cube from here to here, which means at X position. So there are two ways I can do that. Either I can create keyframe on X position like this, or I can create keyframes on all values, like I can create rotation value also, scale value also. So how? Let's see that. Okay, so initially I'm at the start, and let's do one thing. Let's create one keyframe at X. So position X, right now it's 0, and over here you will get this option like button option. And whenever there are some properties, if you are getting this option over there, which means you can create keyframes, or those values you can animate that in Cinema 4D. So right now we have that option in front of it, which means we can animate this property. So let's create one keyframe at X over here, and let's go to around 60 seconds. And now I'm going to change it value. Either I can change it over here like 200, or let's say 2000 maybe, which means, let's, if we zoom out, which will from here to here, and then at 60 point I'll create another keyframe. So now as you guys can see, we have one keyframe over here and one keyframe over here, and you can also get that line over, which basically indicating that this thing is going to come from here to here between this 60 seconds. So if I go to the start, I'll move my time indicator at 0, and now over here you will get this option called play. Shortcut key is effect. If you play, you will get this kind of animation, which is between 0 to 60 frames, which means 2 seconds long. And now suppose I want to change the duration of this animation. I want this animation should run in 1 second. So 1 second, which means basically at 30 frames. So I'll select this last keyframe like this, and I'll simply move this towards the 30. So now this animation is going to take place within 1 second. And then I can go to 60 seconds again. I can select this cube, and I can make this 0 again, and I can create another keyframe. So now basically I have 3 keyframes, one from here to here, and then from here to here. Then I can do this procedure again and again and again and again. So this is how you can create animation in Cinema 4D. Now if you see properly, I have created only one keyframe on X-axis over here, but there is another procedure where you can do if you want to animate. So suppose if I want to delete those keyframes, all I can do, I can select those keyframe and delete. I can select this keyframe and delete, and I can select this keyframe and delete. Okay, so this is one way to delete those keyframes. I'll hit Control Z. Then if you try to select all of them like this, and if you delete it, then it's also fair. You can do that. And there is another thing you can do. If suppose if you want to delete all of this animation, what you can do, you can simply select this, right click on this X. You will find one option known as animation, and if you go over here, you will get this option known as delete keyframes. This is basically going to delete this keyframe which is over here. So but I want to delete all of them. So what can I do? I'll select animation, and I'll go to the delete track. So now it will remove all the animation over here. So now what I'm going to talk about that initially we have created only one keyframe at X, but if you find this option over here which is record active object, now what will happen, I'll select this object, let's say over here, I'll create one keyframe over here. Now with the help of this, now as you guys can see, it will create all the keyframes on each and every property related to the coordinates. It's not gonna create any keyframe over object properties, but only to the coordinates. And then I can go to 30 seconds and I can simply move this from here to here. I can create keyframe over here, then I can go to the start, then I can make it 0 again over here, then I can again create with the help of this. So basically this option is useful when you want to do animation a little bit faster and you don't want to be specific about I want a certain X position animation and Y position animation only, so that time you can use this option. But I would recommend you need to go with individual process of making keyframes. So this is how you can create keyframes and do simple animations in Cinema 4D. In further videos, we are going to talk about in depth about this and how we can manipulate that animation, etc., etc.